Call in and to note who's present. Maren?
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. For our board members who are calling in, if you would please confirm your attendance as I call out your name. Councilman George Galt.
Present.
And NDOT Director Christina Swallow.
Present.
Thank you. We have the following present in the chambers: Mayor Pro Tem Stavros Anthony, Mayor Pro Tem Isaac Barone, Mayor Carolyn Goodman, Vice Chair Justin Jones, Chairwoman Deborah March, Mayor Kiernan McManus, Commissioner Tix Sagerbloom. And with that, Madam Chairwoman, we have a quorum of members. Thank you.
Thank you, Maren. And Ms. Maynard, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Chairwoman March. And members of the board, the first item on the agenda is to conduct your first citizens participation period.
Thank you. This is the first time set aside for public comment. This time is limited to comments on items included in the agenda. Those wishing to speak on a posted agenda item, now is your opportunity. Please come forward to the microphone to provide your comment. State your name for the record, and do we have any comments from the public?
Thank you. Good morning, everybody.
Please
My name is Magdalene Inyard, and I'm glad to be here. And honor to you, Ms. Goodman. It's good to see you again. The first time I saw you was maybe about 2 years ago, right here. And so now what I left some packets for everybody on the board, and they wasn't read, and I was surprised, but I felt that you didn't get them, so I don't know whether you did or not. So I went back and kind of did my own research, and I don't know where they are, but I have paperwork where I did my research, and so if you get them, please review them. Now, I did have some more that on the 16th with me, but I didn't leave them because I didn't hear a response from the board on, and there was on a proposal for the bus stations. So I kept those, but I did give them in, and the last ones is a yellow folder I left for everybody, and I hope you get it. If you don't, I can review what was in it. I have copies of it. I have a letter where who I'm left the first packets with, and I left them at, I thought it was Councilman Weekly's office. I didn't know it wasn't, and I was assured that the lady at that time, I didn't know her name, was going to make sure everyone got the packet. I chose to give everyone a packet in respect so that you can read it at your time, and then maybe you all talk about it however you do. But I felt if I'm going to do a proposal, give it to everybody. So that's what I did. Anyway, I have a signature notarized who I left it with, and went back, and that's when I even found out her name. The first time when I left, I didn't know her name. I went back and found out. And I hope you do now. And I was papers, about 7 paper blue folders in a large binder. And they had paper clippings in the binder where President Joe Biden had give his respect to the slain officer that got killed on January 6th, which it really did upset me because I'm a person that prevented a riot in Los Angeles due to the death of my son by begging and pleading, don't let innocent people get hurt over that. So I really felt like ex-President Trump could have stopped that. So I may have, I'm sure I post that in there somewhere. And other clippings that I gave comments to, was glad to see, was in the big, large binder. And I'll tell you more about me. I am a private consultant of my own business.
Thank you very much. Ms. Maynard, could you make sure we get a copy of the packet? We'll get a copy and have it circulated.
Okay, we'll get your packets, and if you want to view, it should be the same thing you have. What I have, you're welcome to that.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Well, Angela will be there to pick it up from you. Is there anyone else in the audience wishing to speak on an agenda item? To allow for further participation during the pandemic, RTC has been accepting public comment via email rtcsouthernevada.com. Did we receive any comments via email to be read into the record, Maren?
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. We did not receive any other public comments for this period.
Thank you. So this concludes the public comment period. Ms. Maynard.
Oops. Thank you, Chairwoman. The next item is to approve the agenda. I'd like to point out that we will be holding a closed-door session for item 40 to discuss the SEIU contract negotiations. So we suggest that we take that item out of order and hear it following item number 42, which is your final citizens participation period. Otherwise, the agenda is in order, ready for your approval.
Any questions or comments, or can I have a motion to accept the amended agenda? We have a motion on the floor. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Anyone opposed, say nay. And that motion carries.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Next on the agenda is to receive the CEO report. And to begin with, we have an outstanding driver that we'd like to recognize, Barbara Battle, as a paratransit operator from our contractor, MV.
Thank you, MJ. Today we're here to celebrate Barbara Battle. Barbara, on top of being a 99% on-time performance driver, she did not miss one day during the pandemic, transported over 1,500 passengers. But more importantly, she helped implement the paperless manifest. Paperless manifest basically took paper away from the paratransit driver to put it in a digital fashion to make things much more effective. Barbara even came on her days off to help implement and test the system. So let's go and surprise Barbara. Barbara, thank you so much on behalf of the RTC Board of Commissioners and all the staff for all the hard work you did. It's so amazing that you helped us implement the paperless manifest. And once again, on behalf of all of us, thank you so much.
Very surprised, totally surprised, blown away, humbled actually. I'm very just taken by surprise that I get up every day and get to go out and help people. I get paid well to do something that I absolutely love.
Amazing people keep us moving. Next, we'd like to recognize a mechanic, Bernard Thomas, from our contractor, Keolis. There we go.
Thank you, MJ. Today we're at the Sunset Maintenance Facility and we'll surprise Bernard Thomas. Bernard is a body man, takes care of all the little dings and nooks on our vehicles, but Bernard always takes special attention. When he finishes a bus, he not only checks the outside, but the inside. And last month found a couple of vehicles with issues that could have injured customers. So for his dedication, let's go and surprise Bernard. Hi, Bernard.
How you doing? How you doing?
Very good. I'm Francis Julian, Deputy CEO for the RTC.
What's going on now?
It's really nice to see you.
Okay.
Just wanted to offer you the Crystal Bus for all your dedication and everything that you do, checking for the safety of our passengers, making sure the buses always look nice and nicely buffed.
Thank you, thank you, thank
So
you.
thank you so much. Keep up the good work.
I appreciate it. I work in the body shop, so I take care of all the windows, busted windows. We get them every day, all day, 24/7. I do all the flooring, trips and hazards for everybody that riding the buses out there. You know, we making it safe. Safety is our first priority. First, safety is everything. And I feel real good. I feel real good. Blessed. I like to thank Alan Hayes. I like to thank RTC. I like to thank everybody that you know, we all a team. Team make the dream work.
Bernard is a rock star. He's awesome. Yeah.
Thank you.
Following an unprecedented year, John Penuelos, RTC Senior Director of Engineering, will provide you with the first quarterly financial update of 2021. With the ongoing pandemic, we are continuing to monitor the impact on our projections. And so take it away, JP.
Thank you, MJ.
Take it away.
Hello. Madam Chair, good to be here. Members of the board, John Penuelos for the record. So let's get started. So when it comes to all the revenue sources available to streets and highways, sales tax, also known as question 10, of course, motor vehicle fuel tax, and the fuel revenue indexing, since 2014, when the FRI program kicked off, 540 projects have been started, with 288 of those being completed. Now, the jump you see between FY18 and FY19 was caused because we started tracking the completed projects over all funds and not just FRI. Again, since 2014, we have awarded nearly $1.7 billion in contracts to your agencies from sales and fuel tax for new roadway and trail construction, for maintenance of same, and for hundreds of safety projects. I like this chart because it really shows proportionally that the fuel tax accounts for the lion's share of the money under contract. This graph shows dollars under contract compared to our total revenues and expenses. For FY21, we are projecting the total revenues to be about $1.8 billion. The total under contract will be nearly $1.7 billion, and the total expenses should be over $1 billion. Now, this is a cumulative chart, of course, since 2014. For perspective, FY21 year to date, we have spent about $198 million. Now, if we hit our average monthly spend over the final 2 months of FY21, we will be on pace for about a $230 million spend. Now, that would beat the previous record set in fiscal year 2020 of $217 million. So that's even with the pandemic. So that's very good news. The money is hitting the street. And push it a little harder. There we go. Now, this graph shows our job creation numbers from the roadway funding, again, since 2014. In FY21 alone, more than 1,500 jobs have been created based on the money spent to date. And since inception of the FRI, there have been more than 11,000 jobs created. Now, this is the chart that you're familiar with, our summary. Now, again, this is for all roadway funding sources as of March 31st this year. 540 projects have been awarded, 288 have been completed, 78 local small businesses have been put to work. Nearly $1.7 billion has been spent on roadway projects, and again, more than 11,000 jobs have been created. I think that is my final slide. So I'll turn it over to you, MJ.
And that does conclude your report, unless you have any questions.
Any questions or comments, or we're good? Okay, thank you, Ms. Maynard.
Thank you, Chairwoman. The next item is to receive the NDOT Director's Report from Director Christina Swallow, and she is on the line to give us that update.
Thank you.
Good morning, members of the board. It's good to be here with you. I'm sorry I'm remote this month, but still have all the same great information. I think my slides are up, so next slide, please. As I normally do, we're going to start with safety. We just received our fatal report through the month of March this morning. So we have a sort of different image, but I did want to report to you what the data shows. And unfortunately, after some good news in February, it appears that we are back to a really bad trend. Through March, 78 lives have been lost on our roads this year versus 65 last year, representing a 20% increase. And that difference has been largely led by 2 counties, Clark and Nye. In Clark County, 48 people have lost their lives on our roads versus 35 last year, an almost 40% increase. And as I mentioned, there was also a dramatic increase in Nye County. Clark is tracking poorly with every category that I typically report on, seeing higher numbers than at this point last year, with just one exception, unrestrained occupant fatalities. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to recover and start seeing a positive trend again next month. I do want to illustrate, and this image is from the crash that I actually mentioned last month. On Tuesday, March 8th, we tragically lost a tow truck driver, Ryan Billett, who was hit and killed while working on the shoulder of the 215 Beltway near Decatur Boulevard. And HP released this photo of the crash site showing Ryan's truck parked on the shoulder with its headlights and safety lights still on. Our condolences go out to Ryan's family, and we extend them to the entire Valley towing community. Our tow operators are a critical component of the Safety of Nevada's roadway network, and they are part of the Traffic Incident Management Coalition. and vital to clearing crashes and greatly reducing the number of secondary crashes on our roads. Another tragedy I'd like to tell you about occurred almost 6 years ago to the day of Ryan's crash. An NDOT maintenance team member named Ron Race was struck and killed by a semi-truck while making repairs to I-80 west of Battle Mountain. Ron is fortunately the most recent NDOT employee and the 24th department employee since 1948 to tragically lose their life in the line of service. So many of our crew members are up against this risk every day. That's not just our team, it's all of our contractors, it's the tow truck drivers. And in light of this anniversary and these recent incidents, NDOT and traffic incident responders remind drivers that Nevada's move over law that requires drivers to slow down, proceed with caution, and if it is safe to do so, move over one lane when passing a roadway incident. This includes passing emergency response and law enforcement vehicles, NDOT or official city and county vehicles using flashing amber warning lights, freeway service patrol, tow and utility vehicles, and any traffic incidents, including stalled vehicles or debris on the roadway. I would just say, if you see something on the edge of the roadway, slow down and move over, regardless of what it is. Give them space. It is the law to move over, even an entire lane if possible, to help preserve the safety and lives of our partners working on the roadway network. Next slide, please. NDOT is seeking, so now into some projects. So we are seeking some community feedback on potential safety improvements to 2 valley roadways, East Cary Avenue in North Las Vegas and East Bonanza Road in Las Vegas. The department is developing safety management plans on both of these corridors to evaluate and improve safety on both of these arterials which serve our community. On Cary, the safety study will address a 5-mile-long stretch of East Cary Avenue from I-15 to Sloan in North Las Vegas and Clark County. With this study, we're looking to learn of potential improvements geared towards increasing pedestrian safety and mobility. The virtual public meeting for Cary Avenue will be available online from April 12th through 26th at dot.nv.gov. On Bonanza Road, we've seen a high number of crashes involving pedestrians, cyclists, and vehicles. And with this study, we aim to better understand the root causes of these crashes and identify solutions to help improve the safety for everyone who uses the network, the roadway. We invite the public to an online public meeting from April 26th through May 10th, so just following the Cary one, on the NDOT website also, that's dot.nv.gov. And you can find all the materials you need on the website, but we will also be sending out printed information to the surrounding communities. Next slide, please. Last month, some good news in terms of projects being awarded in the county. Last month, NDOT awarded nearly $11 million construction contract to improve I-15 near the California state line. The project will repave over 16 miles of southbound I-15 from Prim to just north of Jean, as well as install a weigh-in-motion system at milepost 8 and undertake a full roadway rehabilitation of a portion of Good Springs Road under the Jean interchange. The Jean interchange will also undergo pavement and bridge repairs, as well as drainage improvements. Additional improvements will include adding 2 miles of new guardrails, tortoise fencing repairs, frontage road upgrades, new signage, ITS enhancements. The project is slated to begin in early May, and we will work with Waze to inform the public about planned highway restrictions. And as always, we urge drivers to check the latest state highway conditions by visiting nvroads.com or calling 511 before driving. Next slide, please. I wanted to just touch base again on the downtown access project closures. Through the remainder of this weekend, 8 city streets will remain closed in downtown Las Vegas as part of the future downtown access project. The closures have been in place since March in an effort to draw attention to the proposed permanent closures that could be part of the project. Beginning on March 8th, they were partially closed, and in late March, they were closed fully and will be reopened this coming Monday, the 12th. Pedestrian and bike access has remained open through the duration, and we continue to welcome feedback from residents, businesses, and in the area as they experience the new street configurations firsthand. We have already heard from more than 300, which is significantly more than we heard last fall during our virtual public meeting regarding these roads in particular. If you want to be heard, your input to be heard, visit the Downtown Access Project website at ndotdap.com or call our community feedback line at 702-938-5440 to let us know your thoughts on these test closures. slide, please. And now I have 2 slides of some good news. The first one is our fantastic bridge inspection and rehab program has helped our bridges once again be named some of the nation's best. Our bridges have also been ranked among the nation's best for 7 years. The American Road and Transportation Builders Association, ARTBA, recently released an analysis of 2020 bridge inventory data that shows only 1.4% of Nevada's more than 2,000 public bridges are structurally deficient. That's compared with a national average of 7.3%, and it is the nation's best ranking. Structurally deficient bridges are not unsafe or dangerous, but these bridges do become a priority for corrective measure and may be posted to restrict the weight of vehicles using them. And that inspects the majority of bridges, including city and county maintained structures, every 2 years. Bridges with more extensive deterioration are inspected more often. Select newer bridges are inspected every 4 years. NDOT has dedicated approximately $16 million to preserving Nevada's bridges over the most recent 2 fiscal years. And our ongoing focus is to keep all who travel our roads and bridges safe and connected. Next slide, please. And then I wanted to announce a new team member to our executive leadership team. Jenica Keller has been appointed to serve as our Assistant Director of Operations. As Assistant Director of Operations, she will oversee multiple divisions, including equipment, maintenance and asset management, materials, and traffic operations, and serve a critical role and liaison with our districts as well. Her decades-long career with the department began in 1994 in the materials division. She has also worked in pavement analysis, roadbed design, specifications, and road design. In her most recent role in project management, she helped deliver critical projects across the state, including the Centennial Bowl in Las Vegas and the SBX project in Reno through contract award. Jenica is a graduate of the department's engineering and training program. She is also a registered professional engineer and certified public manager. Please help join us in welcoming Jenica to her new position. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Director Swallow. Any questions or comments? Stavros. Commissioner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to make a comment. I live up in the western part of the valley, and I, like hundreds of thousands of people, use Summerlin Parkway on a regular basis to go east and west. And for a while there, Summerlin Parkway was getting a little rickety and bumpy and irritating. And fortunately, NDOT was out there Monday and Tuesday doing some resurfacing, and it was smooth sailing to City Hall yesterday. Not so much today because there was an accident on Summerlin Parkway, but I just want to commend NDOT for staying on top of these maintenance issues. And I just want to stress, we spent a lot of time talking about these multi-million-dollar projects and praising these big projects, but it's the maintenance of the roads that I think are more important to our residents, because driving down a bumpy road is irritating as hell. And so I appreciate NDOT staying on top of it. Just want to remind RTC to stay on top of our maintenance, and that is a big deal. So thank you very much for doing that on behalf of everybody who lives on the west end of the valley.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Barone.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Yeah, and the other big thing that people are concerned with are safety, and I definitely want to give a big thanks here to NDOT there with yet some more love sent North Las Vegas' way. We just had, unfortunately, another, it's really weird, a driver, she wound up being a pedestrian. She actually stepped out of her car at an intersection, a very busy intersection, and unfortunately, she did not make it. And so anything to enhance safety, especially in Ward 1, where you have Cary, which part of it is like, I swear there's enough room for like 8 lanes, right? And people, they zip down that, and then it comes down to a very heavily populated part of Ward 1, right? Anything that we can do here to make it a safer place, it'll help transform downtown North Las Vegas, which definitely can use every bit of help they can get. So thank you very much to NDOT.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Jones.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Director Swallow, for your presentation. I did have a comment and a question with regards to the STATELINE project. First off, I want to give a shout out to Mario Gomez, who has been fantastic in direct interactions with the people of Good Springs and down on that part of the state. But I did have a question. Nevada continues to do a lot of work on our roads to make sure that people coming to and from Las Vegas are accommodated. Has there been any commitment from those on the California side to improve their roadways so there's not a continuing bottleneck once you hit the border?
Thank you for the question. Unfortunately, we have not seen a commitment to address the concerns on the south side of I-15. However, we are working to develop some creative solutions to hopefully present to Caltrans to see if there are other ways that we can address them. For instance, via using technology to help, unlike we have done in Southern Nevada with Waycare, to help calm traffic, help possibly pre-stage responders. One of the biggest challenges with that corridor, as we all know, is that if there is a crash, the detour corridor is significantly long and hard to get to it once you're already in it. So unfortunately, I even think widening wouldn't necessarily address all of our concerns. So I think we need to start being creative on trying to figure out ways that technology may help us better manage the corridor to help reduce the reduce the occurrence of crashes and other incidents.
Can we put up some big signs as the Californians go back to their state that say that their leadership don't care about their roads?
Thank you. Commissioners? Thank you very much, Director Swallow. We appreciate your update today. Thank you. MJ?
Okay, next on the agenda is to approve the consent agenda, which consists of items 5 through 37 and can be taken in one motion.
Thank you. And I know we do have a comment on item number 35 before, and I'm not going to pull it, but just a comment to be made. So if you want to make that comment before we make a motion.
Yeah, thank you very much. And it seems like I'm the thank you guy here, but you know, again, on item number 35, we're transferring a couple of our vehicles over to Helping Hands of Southern Nevada. Mm-hmm. If you don't know what Helping Hands are, they literally bring food, you know, to a multitude of people who, you know, they're elderly, they are limited, and this is like one of the nice little things. I know because the RTC, back before I was ever a commissioner, got a couple of vans to one of our underserved community centers that it really improved their lives. And going forward, the city of North Vegas is actually partnering with Helping Hands to provide vaccines to people who just cannot get it. They haven't been vaccinated yet, and they can't get out. So seeing how Helping Hands also is in Ward 1, right? I definitely wanted to make sure that I appreciate, you know, this small gesture that's going to make a big difference for a lot of people. Your predecessor, of course, Ms. Quigley, you know, it's almost like I like to mention her whenever I can, you know, because, of course, she's also the architect of delivering service to people, right? And you're definitely you and your team are definitely continuing with that the tradition. And just thank you very much on behalf of the city and, of course, Helping Hands and all these residents who really need the help.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other questions or comments on the consent agenda, or can I have a motion to accept the consent agenda? We have a motion on the floor. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 And anyone opposed, nay. And that motion carries.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item is to receive information on the May 2021 RTC Board of Commissioners meeting. As you know, the regular RTC board meeting is scheduled for May 13th, 2021. Nevada Revised Statutes 354.596 requires that the RTC set a public hearing for the tentative budget not sooner than the third Monday in May and not later than the last day in May. So rather than hold two meetings, it's recommended that the RTC reschedule its meeting to a new date of May 20th, 2021. The meeting would be held at a regular place and time. If the board approves the change, notification will be published.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Or can I have a motion to approve the meeting change for May? Okay, we have a motion on the floor. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Anyone opposed, nay. And that motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is to receive a presentation on the tentative budget for fiscal year 2022 and to direct the RTC Finance Department to submit the tentative budget to the Nevada Department of Taxation by April 15th as required under NRS 354.596. So Mr. Mark Trosdahl, our CFO, will provide that presentation to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, MJ. Madam Chairwoman, members of the board, We'll start this presentation by looking at our funding sources that we're budgeting for fiscal 2022. You can see here that our total budget is $662 million. The majority of that is sales tax revenue at $230 million, followed closely by fuel taxes at $185.7 million, and then grants at $101 million, and then fares at $44.7 million. Our sales tax, we receive 0.5% of sales tax at the RTC. 3/8 of that goes to funding transit, and 1/8 goes to roadway construction. We look at sales tax here, we're estimating that fiscal 21 will have an increase of about 1.9% up to $217 million. And then we're budgeting $231 million in fiscal 22. That's a 6% increase in our sales tax revenue. If we look at sales tax and think that's a little aggressive, what we've done here on this slide is projected a 3.5% increase from 2019 forward. And in doing that, you can see where our sales tax would have been. And this slide shows you the differences in those 3 years, 20, 21, and 22. And the loss of revenue there is estimated at $53 million. So even though things look a little better, we're budgeting a little higher, it's still not on track with where we were before. In our sales tax, we were enjoying about 6% increases year over year prior to the pandemic. We look at the 1/8% of sales tax, that goes to mostly streets and highways, and then air quality receives about $9.2 million out of that $57.7 million. If we look at our transit funding sources, we're budgeting $324 million in fiscal 22, and again, sales tax is providing the majority of that funding for transit at $173 million. Then we have capital grants at $57.1 million, and then operating grants, which is basically the federal stimulus that we're receiving, at $37.7 million, and then again fares at $44.7. And looking at our capital grants, that $57.1 million, we have formula grants that we receive every year from the FTA, and we're estimating those to come in at $49.7, and then competitive grants that we have to apply for and compete with other transit agencies. We're looking at spending $7.4 million of grants that we've already won. If we look at fuel taxes, we show here our motor vehicle fuel tax. That's our 9-cent per gallon fuel tax. And that's the history and what we're projecting on the revenue for motor vehicle fuel tax. And then we add to that the jet aviation fuel tax, which we've removed in fiscal 22, as we've received information from the airport that the FAA says that's not an appropriate use of taxes off the airport. So we're in discussions with McCarran at this time and have removed that from our budget in the future. Then we look at the fuel revenue indexing fuel taxes and see what a great benefit those are. This is the first program that it started up in 2014, and then we have the voter-approved fuel revenue indexing that started in November of 2016. And you can see what a great benefit that is. You can see we are on quite a trajectory of increasing those fuel taxes. We were enjoying over the last 3 years a 6% increase per year. If we projected that 6% over fiscal 20, 21, and 22 again, we would show that we're actually losing about $90 million in total. And then if we look at our fare revenue, we look at that's total fare revenue in the green bars. And then we look at our general market revenue and then the strip revenue. This revenue, you can see, has taken big declines with the pandemic. If we projected that fare revenue to be flat over fiscal 20, 21, and 22 at $64.5 million, we would have lost $69.1 million in revenue, which is, you can see, over a year's worth of revenue that we've lost in fares. If we move to funding uses, this is our total funding uses, and again, our total budget is $662 million. Capital outlay being the largest portion of that budget at $291 million, and then contracted services at $243, which is mostly made up of transit contracted services, and then our debt service at $81.8 million, and then salaries and benefits at $46.1. For capital outlay, you can see that roadways takes up the majority of that. We're budgeting $216.1 million for fiscal '22, and that will all benefit our member agencies, the county and the cities. And then transit makes up $73.4 million of our capital outlay budget. And we look at that transit budget at $73.4 million. 57.1 million of that is grant funded. And then for the transit capital budget, the majority of that budget is for fleet replacement. And a good thing that's happening here is that we do have a hydrogen fueling facility budgeted in fiscal '22. And we're also initiating a study to assess the electrical infrastructure needs for each bus yard for battery electric buses. And then we're also budgeting about $4 million for bus shelters and lighting, safety enhancements for those bus shelters. And then we're also budgeting some about $5.2 million of facility improvements and equipment upgrades at the bus yards, and $4.5 million in technology upgrades, which $2 million of that $4.5 million is our GoMed project that starts up in fiscal '22. Then we have a slide here of our outstanding bonds, and we'll just show you that. In total here, we'll have about $672 million outstanding in bonds at the end of fiscal '22, and that includes a new bond issue of $100 million that we're going to sell this month on the 21st. So you can see here that we like to manage our bond portfolio just to bond what we need to. We like to have more pay-go, if you will, pay-as-you-go projects that will actually save us in interest. So we only issue bonds when we need to. Our transit funding uses for fiscal '22 are $324.2 million. Most of that contracted services at about $218 million. And then again, capital outlay at $73.4 million. Salaries and benefits at about $20.6 million. And then a big part of that, those contracted services that are fixed route contract cost, you can see that we're budgeting $124.2 million in fiscal '22 as we restore service and enhance the fixed route service. And then the story holds true also for Paratransit. We're budgeting $49 million, which is an increase over fiscal '21, and again, recovering from the pandemic, we expect to spend more on paratransit service. Then our security cost, we're budgeting $11.7 million there. You can see that's quite an increase over fiscal '21 and '20. We have a new security contract, which includes more security officers and better technology used by those officers. Our next slide, you can see this is a history of our net fuel cost. Next year, we're budgeting about $6.5 million, a little more than fiscal '21 due to the service being recovered. You can see that we've had significant savings in lower fuel cost because we're using compressed natural gas versus diesel. We've also enjoyed about $22 million of rebates from the IRS for alternative fuel excise tax credits from that time. Then this next slide shows the fuel savings, but we've been able to save money in fuel and at the same time increase the mileage each year for our transit service. And that concludes my prepared comments. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate that. Are there any questions or comments on the tentative budget, Commissioner? Mayor.
Thank you. That report is interesting and knowing the problems that we're all facing in our budgets for next year as well. The electric vehicles. I know that's before the legislature right now. Are we doing anything as a body to help make the decisions of how we're going to get income from those that don't rely on fuel? And going into the future with some of the states looking at making everything electric down the road. So
I think the conversation just continues. I know that is something that is that they're speaking about during legislative session. So I think more to come on that, Mayor. I certainly don't have an answer as to where they're going to go, but I do know that it's a high priority for the legislative session.
And so there's no stand that this body has taken to go forth the legislature to.
Hi, Mayor. Angela Castro for the record. Actually, today there's a hearing. NDOT has been, it's SCR 3, it's a resolution to do a study. And so the legislative committee, the interim legislative committee on energy had suggested we do a study to identify long-term funding challenges, which includes the electric vehicle conversation. That bill is being heard today, and we are testifying in support, and we are also included as part of this study moving forward. NDOT will oversee the study, and we will be closely monitoring it, but we are testifying in support today for that.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any other comments? Commissioner.
Thank you. I'm glad to see you're increasing the amount of money for security on our buses. Can you break that down a little bit more so I have an understanding of what you're funding and what the increases are for?
Absolutely. Francis?
Yes. So the increase was the changeover in the new contractor last summer, and right now we have 14 extra officers on the street that are equipped with body cams, geolocators, and we now have a command center at the BTC to really respond faster. So that is basically the blunt of the increase is in more boots on the ground and technology used to help our officers maintain peace in our vehicle.
And Francis, that's include the fact that the ratio officer per vehicle, that's also improved significantly, correct?
Yes, the ratio, especially in the pandemic, obviously, as you saw in the budget, we didn't reduce any of the security complements. So we were to a ratio of one officer per 6 vehicles, which the nation average is 1 officer per 15 vehicles. So we're really ahead of the curve.
Good. And just refresh my memory, we have video on every single bus, is that correct?
Yes, yes, there's up to 12 cameras per vehicle.
Okay, so if there's an incident on a bus, we can capture in video to give that to Metro to investigate. We can do that.
Yes, definitely, and
okay.
we definitely are doing this and cooperating with Metro. And as I stated now, our new security contractor, they have body cam as well, so we have like a double video feed.
And we also have the ability to, it's a live look into every vehicle, and we did that in conjunction with Metro. That was a request for Metro after the shooting on the Strip a number of years ago. And so if Metro wants to look in a bus at any time, they can. So that's a new technology.
Good. So we have a good working relationship with Metro. I'm glad to hear that.
Very much.
So, the other comment I wanted to make was the bus stops. I saw the slide, but I didn't hear what was going on. But when I drive around town, I see people at these bus stops, and a lot of them, there are not enough places to sit down. They're standing behind them because the sun's beating down on it. So I just want to make sure we're working hard to make sure that these bus stops, when people are waiting for a bus, are a comfortable place to stay. They're not they're not dying when it's 110 degrees out and there's some place for them to sit, those sorts of things. So
that's part of the increase in the budget. So we're increasing, first of all, the number of lighted bus stop because that was a really big concern from our clientele. And we're retrofitting a lot of old bus stops and new bus stops, so there's going to be more shading and more seating.
So we're increasing funding there?
Yes.
In this budget? Okay, that's the part I didn't catch.
And then, Councilman, as we continue to identify how we're going to use the stimulus funding, the best way to get folks from not having to stand at the bus stop for so long is frequency. So the more frequent our buses are, the less time they have to wait at a bus stop, and that is a high priority for us, particularly for those that have no other option in which to travel about the community.
Okay, thank you.
And then that'll make it more dependable, which folks will want to support as well. Just a question for you, Mark. This is the tentative budget that we're going to adopt today. This will come back before us on May 22nd for final approval. So over the next month, the public has an opportunity to review the budget if they're interested.
Correct.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay. Can I have a motion to accept the tentative budget and direct staff to submit it to the Department of Taxation? We have a motion on the floor. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 And anyone opposed, say nay. And that motion carries. Ms. Maynard.
Thank you. The next item 41, as a reminder, we will take item 40, the closed door session, to discuss the SEIU contract after the final citizens participation. So item 41 is our standing legal item, and there are no matters to bring before you at this time. So move on to the next item, which is your item 42, your last final citizens participation.
Thank you. This is the second time set aside for public comment. Anyone wishing to speak to the board, now is your opportunity. Please come forward to the microphone to provide your comment and to state your name for the record. Do we have any comments from the audience? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on. We also have another opportunity for the public to speak through the pandemic. We have been accepting public comments via email at rtcsouthernevada.com. Did we receive any comments via email to be read into the record, Maren?
Yes, Madam Chairwoman, we have two. Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Stephanie Versnick. I am testifying before you for the 38th time. I'm a mom speaking on behalf of my son, Christian, who does not drive due to his autism. I've been testifying each month consistently for over 3 years, asking this commission to expand the service area in this community. We are starting to open this city. Tourists are starting to visit Vegas again. This past weekend, there was a trail of cars leaving our city on Sunday night going back to California. Our city is slowly recovering. I understand that we are not there, and it will take a while for our economy to get back to where it was. However, we should not forget about the people who live here and pay taxes, who call Las Vegas their home. People are starting to come out of isolation. However, people who don't have transportation is still in isolation. They can't go to work, go to the grocery store, or even go to visit a loved one at a cemetery. People with disabilities who don't have transportation have to rely on someone to pick them up, and many times it's whenever it's convenient for the person who is providing the transportation. People with disabilities deserve the right to have access to transportation. They deserve to live a meaningful, productive life and be part of this community. This commission needs to put the needs of this community as a #1 priority. Your job is to meet the needs of this community. In my previous testimony, I referenced an article I read about where the RTC received $61 million from the FTA and other $112 million in CARES Act. Why can't we expand the service area? How long is the RTC going to continue to say they don't have enough money to expand the service area, or at the very least offer an affordable premium service plan option for people who live outside the service area? As I have stated many times in my previous testimony, transportation is not a luxury, it is an essential service. Until the service area is expanded, I will continue to testify and ask this commission to develop an affordable premium service plan option for people who live outside of the service area. In the last 14 months, I have not heard from anyone regarding my request. I am very disappointed in the lack of communication from this commission. I would certainly appreciate some attempt to communicate with me. There has been no effort made to communicate with me, no phone call, email, nothing. For the 14th time, I am requesting to have a proposed affordable premium service plan added to the May's agenda and ask this commission to be prepared to discuss and vote. I am again hoping that my request is recognized and not ignored for the 14th time. And your second one is from Ms. Robin Kincaid. My name is Robin Kincaid, and this is the 30th time I have come before this commission regarding the need to change paratransit service area back to the 2011 configuration. I am a parent of a young adult with disabilities, and I'm just looking for the same things that many of you want for your own children. Las Vegas is a wonderful community, and if we are going to embrace growth, we must find a way to meet the transportation needs of persons with disabilities. It's essential that we visit the configuration of the service area and determine how we can reconfigure the shape of the map to eliminate inlets that contain essential services. Invite and consider community input about paratransit services so we can begin to help expand job opportunities, doctor visits, and other ways to rebuild our economy. I understand that RTC Southern Nevada received $112 million in 2020 and another $61 million in CARES funding in 2021. Please consider input from the community to use some of this funding to make the adjustments to the service area. Allow persons with disabilities to access their assigned post office and remove the inlet configurations that create barriers. Find a way to meet the needs of communities that are underserved, such as restricted age areas, such as the over 55 developed communities. In the past, we have been told by RTC staff that a premium ride cost was forthcoming. Please consider this a formal request to place this issue of reconfiguration of the paratransit service area and a premium rate program for access to business outside the service area on the May 2021 agenda. In prior testimony, I brought to the Commission's attention that prior day text alerts that are sent to paratransit customers are in military time. I am requesting that you communicate in AM/PM time. We are still having difficulty with this format and do not understand why military time is used for paratransit service since it is not used for printed regular bus schedules. For persons with disabilities, this just adds a layer of confusion and can prevent the person from becoming independent in their community. Please reinstate the ride check system that was lost when the paratransit vendor changed to MV. Part of the lack of transparency by staff was that the public was not informed that they would have to wait over a year to be able to have real-time information that was available with the previous vendor. Please advise when this system will be live and available for the public to use. I am also asking that you revisit the public comment process and implement a call-in process. Thank you for your time, and once again, please consider asking the RTC staff specific questions so we can work together to resolve these concerns. Persons with disabilities deserve your attention and the opportunity to access their community. And with that, that concludes the public participation.
Thank you very much. So we'll go ahead and close the public comment period. Pardon me? Sure, you're welcome to come forward and speak. State your name for the record. Come up to the microphone and then state your name. Thank you.
I'll put there, and I'm surprised to hear that it's been so many times of that complaint that apparently no one addressed what was said. And I do have complaints. I would like to know why the bus service doesn't have a change facility for people. If they don't have the correct change, they can't ride or anything. And seat belts, especially for children. I don't have it wrote down, but I can write it down for you. And why some drivers just drive off with people standing at the bus stop waiting to be picked up. And it's not all of them, please understand. And the attitudes of the bus drivers as well as the community. But they need to, and I have told some of them, they have to respect the bus drivers too. Because I feel the bus driver should just drive. There should be one medical person on the bus in case if someone has a seizure or some kind of medical problem. That person can contact paramedics. Bus driver doesn't have to do all that. I think that, and maybe that person can be the person that unhooked the seat belts for the disabled instead of the bus driver jumping up and down to do that. I feel the bus driver should commit to just driving and knowing where streets are, artifacts or something of that nature. I feel it's too much getting up and down and doing other things when if the budget is as high as it is, seem like it should be afforded for these other abilities, and especially for the seatbelts. I would say another bus for families with children, special for seatbelts, if you can't put seatbelts on all buses. I don't know, but if it's legal for us as vehicle owners to wear a seatbelt or get a ticket, why we ride on a public domain, a bus, a vessel, and no seatbelts? Because if the accident happened on a big bus, that vessel, it's going to be extremely a terrible incident. Terrible, because we could have deaths, more than one, and then that would lead on to the bus driver having an effect from that. It may not be the bus driver's fault, he or she, but naturally if people are not just injured, dead, naturally the mind is going to say, I killed someone or something. So it's a whole lot to view, and I see there money available. I don't know. I see what's being said, so I don't know exactly what's being used. But this is opinion of mine, and I'm glad to hear that. It was very well written. Whoever did it, please pass it on to them. They did an extremely good job, and I would like to meet them, and we talk. And I will continue coming back to talk with you all.
Thank you very much. Anyone else wishing to speak in the public comment period? Seeing no one, we'll go ahead and close public comment. Ms. Maynard?
Thank you, Chairwoman. The final item is to go into closed-door session to discuss confidential matters related to the SCIU contract negotiations.
Thank you. So will we return just to close the meeting, or can I close the meeting, take a vote to go into closed session?
We'll go back to chambers, and then we'll come back out and close the meeting, correct?
So do I need a motion to go into closed session? No. Okay, thank you.
Madam Chairwoman?
Yes.
Just for the sake of transparency, since I do have a brother who works for the RTC, I'm going to be not joining you for the closed session, and I'll be happily awaiting you when you return.